Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight Live on KMTV. I'm Kristen Hawthorne and here are your top stories on Tuesday the 20th of January. Laysdown Beach murder trial. 3 teens remain in court charged with the murder of electrician, with new messages revealed. 6-figure sum. Mid-Kent College lecturer given payout after being forced out. And I thought my life was over. Meet the Sevenoaks councillor getting his voice back using AI.
And no one wants to sound like Stephen Hawking did. So it's incredible.
Our top story tonight, 3 teenagers stand charged of murder after the death of a man on the beach in Laysdown in August last year. The court heard 49-year-old Alexander Cashford was lured to the beach by teens under the pretense he'd be meeting a 16-year-old girl. It was there he was attacked with a glass bottle while being dubbed a paedophile, shown in a video footage shown to the court. Reporter Chloe Brewster is here to tell us about what we learnt in court today. Chloe, for watchers who haven't seen much about this story, can you bring us up to speed?
Yes, so 3 teenagers currently on trial at Woolwich Crown Court, charged with murdering Alexander Cashford, an electrician. A 16-year-old pled guilty to manslaughter last week, but he denies murder, while a 16-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy have both pled not guilty to manslaughter or murder. The trio of teens who cannot be named due to their age allegedly lured Mr Cashford, as you said, to the beach after having exchanged more than 70 messages with the victim. He believed he was talking to a 16-year-old girl. Once at the beach, expecting to meet the teen, video was shown to the court, which had been taken off the eldest boy's phone, of one of the teens attacking Mr Cashford with a glass bottle, with the girl heard calling the victim a paedophile. Later on, eyewitnesses are said to have seen Mr Cashford lying in the mud while the 16-year-old boy allegedly threw rocks at his head and stomach. Mr Cashford was later declared dead that evening, around an hour after he met up with Sienna, the 16-year-old girl that the teens were pretending to be. So yeah, that's where we are now.
And of course the pictures on screen was of drone footage of the area, but can you tell us what came out at trial?
Yeah, so today messages between the group and the victim were read out. They told the court that the messages, read that Mr Cashford had said he was not put off by the 16-year-old's age and said that he thought she was lovely. The jury heard that the victim started to try to arrange a date and time to meet Sienna, again the 16-year-old girl that the teens were posing as. Mr Cashford is said to have went on to say, "I cannot believe you do not have a boyfriend," and here on screen at the moment you can see that moment of when the victim had been chased allegedly by those standing in court today. Further texts are exchanged, including a message from Mr Cashford expressing a want for physical intimacy with the 16-year-old girl. The court was also shown a compilation of CCTV from August 10th, which showed 3 teenagers playing on a basketball machine around 20 minutes before meeting Mr Cashford. And from now on, there's still a lot more time left of this trial. It's a 6-week trial, so there'll be a lot more coming out of this.
All right, thank you so much, Chloe. We will hear more from you later in the show. Next, he thought he'd lost his voice forever, but through the power of AI, Sevenoaks councillor Nick Varley has been given the ability to speak again like he used to. Varley was diagnosed with motor neuron disease nearly 2 years ago, the same degenerative condition that left Stephen Hawking bound to a wheelchair. But Varley swears he's going to continue to live life to the fullest. With our local democracy reporter Ollie Leader seeing him in action at a council meeting where the public heard his AI voice for the first time.
I don't have a real voice anymore, so this phone is my voice.
It may be a robotic voice, but this AI replica sounds just like Sevenoaks councillor Nick Varley when he was first diagnosed with motor neuron disease back in 2024.
When you get this kind of diagnosis, part of you thinks my life is over. And being able to still work still talk, and still participate is amazing.
Pioneered by the Motor Neuron Disease Association and London-based AI firm 11 Labs, the app uses a sample Nick provided before the degenerative condition progressed to his mouth and throat, allowing him to speak clearly at meetings and continue to represent his constituents.
This is the public debut of my new AI voice, so I hope that the technology works.
It can be very emotional, because your voice is such a big part of you, and no one wants to sound like Stephen Hawking did. So it's incredible.
Motor neuron disease causes muscles to weaken, stiffen and waste, affecting how sufferers walk, talk and even breathe. About 5,000 adults in the UK are living with the life-shortening condition at any one time, and there is currently no cure. But for Nick, who has raised thousands for charity since his diagnosis, there was only one way to react.
Total shock and fear.
Then you have to get on with it.
Ollie Leader in Sevenoaks.
And I'm also joined by a speech and language therapist who has joined us today to tell us a bit more about how revolutionary something like this could be. So that's Jennifer. Thank you so much for joining me, Jennifer.
My pleasure.
I have this figure here that says there's currently 1,728 people with motor neuron disease known to us in the southeast. Can you explain a bit more about that and maybe how much this AI voice can change things for those people, and is that something that everybody can use?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's becoming much more widely available for anybody living with MND in any area, really. So, yeah, one of the first things that can happen with motor neuron disease is that you can lose your voice really quite quickly and lose that ability to speak and communicate, and need to find an alternative way to do that. So we always look at using communication aids with people, which can be on your phone or it can be a dedicated communication device. And we've been using voice banking technology for a number of years now to capture people's voices whilst they still have them before they lose them, so that we can use that voice on a device and so that they continue to sound like themselves. The advantage of the AI technology is that the voices now sound much more natural than they used to do, and much closer to that person's original sounding voice, which then has that benefit of them feeling like they've kept their voice and hearing them sound like themselves, and everybody around them hearing that they sound like themselves. So it really is quite life-changing, actually. And
I mean, can you explain a bit more about what the disease actually is and sort of at what stage maybe this can come in at? Is it the first thing that people can do, or is it something that then comes on later on as it progresses?
So there are different ways of starting with MND. So sometimes people will start with loss of their speech and their swallowing as the first presenting part of the condition. Sometimes it can start more in your arms and your legs, and then sometimes your speech will catch up with that progressive loss later on down the track. So it just depends on the type of MND that you have, really. So it's very easy for people to do this really as quickly after diagnosis or through that process of being diagnosed as possible. We tend to suggest that they do it as quickly as possible if we know that there's a chance they're going to lose their voices, so that they capture that voice whilst it's still intact. Again, with the introduction of the AI technology, it's becoming much more possible to record a voice even if you haven't captured that early recording, because we can now use pre-existing recordings of people's voices on the AI technology. So if you've got something like voice notes or videos, for example, on your phone that many of us tend to have now, it's possible to upload those voice notes or videos to make a voice. So the technology is just becoming more and more widely accessible and available all the time. So capturing as many voices as we can do, and being able to help people to keep their voices through the duration of their lifespan.
And is there any challenges or limitations to the AI voice? I mean, would it be different for children? Would they have a child's voice, or would they then have to have more of an adult's voice?
So whatever voice you put into the technology is what comes back out, basically. So if it was a child that did the recording, then it would be a child's voice that came back out again. It's the AI technology specifically we tend to look at more using with adults, just because of the privacy and those kinds of things around that. But no, any kind of voice can go into that technology and come out with a remarkably good likeness of that original voice, actually. So I guess the only probably limitations as such are people's ability to access the technology and to confidently use the technology, but the help and support is available to do that if that's more of a problem.
All right, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I suppose there's a lot to do with how this might emotionally affect people as well, but thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer, and certainly something that I'm sure will affect many people's lives.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, it's time for a short break, but coming up, we'll be bringing you all the latest sports news from across the county, covering everything from golf and football to rugby and cricket. All of that and more. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live on KMTV. Next, a lecturer at a college in Gillingham has been awarded £177,000 payout after a colleague mocked her disabilities and spread false claims of racism about her. Dr. Sharon Turton taught psychology at Mid-Kent College before an employment tribunal ruled that multiple complaints of harassment had happened. Finn McDermott joins us live outside of Mid-Kent College now. So Finn, can you give me a bit more of a rundown of what happened here?
Absolutely. Dr. Sharon Turton had worked here at Mid-Kent College for 8 years before she says she was forced to take voluntary redundancy. The tribunal you mentioned there had a report that said she felt she had no option to take redundancy, saying she believed if she stayed, she would have died. Now, this was all because of some difficult social interactions that you mentioned earlier, which took place between September 2021 until her resignation a year later. Now, some of these interactions include a colleague of hers telling students that Dr. Turton, who has Asperger's syndrome and ADHD, had mental problems while tapping her head. This also included the spreading of some false claims saying that Dr. Turton had made racist remarks. Now, it might not sound like much from just me saying it, but this was a year's worth of time, and following all of this, Dr. Turton was treated in hospital with stress-related illnesses, and we've been told she does suffer from severe and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. These incidents, including the one I mentioned about these alleged racist remarks that were found to be false, began circulating online, and the situation did spiral out of control. She was signed off with some stress-related illnesses before that period where she says she was forced to take that voluntary redundancy.
And what exactly was discussed in the tribunal?
Well, Dr. Turton's tribunal, it was stated there were 6 total complaints, 3 of which were upheld relating to disability and disability discrimination, with the payout, as you mentioned, being £177,000, which was, she originally thought that would be closer to £450,000 based on the money she would have made while still working there and potential future earnings at Mid-Kent College.
And just quickly, Finn, what have Mid-Kent College themselves said?
They said, we take the findings and the matters that was discussed in the tribunal extremely seriously. We're committed to ensuring all staff and students experience an inclusive and respectful working environment. They also added that the events referenced a significant time, a similar amount of time has passed since then, and throughout this time the college has continued to learn and grow, strengthening its policies and practices.
All right, thanks for bringing us that story, Finn. And now for all your sports headlines. First, Gillingham FC welcomed having a trio of wingers in the side against Newport County. Winging lone man Smith made only his 4th league start. McCleary returned following injury, and Rowe played as a forward rather than a wing-back. Gareth Ainsworth said his style is probably wingers since he was a wide man during his playing days, and it paid off with a 3-2 victory and McCleary appearing on the score sheet. And for more football news on loan, goalkeeper Dylan Addy will stay at Ramsgate until the end of the season after joining from League 2 leaders Bromley. The 20-year-old kept his 2nd clean sheet in 4 games as Ramsgate beat Lewes 3-0 at Southwood, producing a crucial fingertip save to preserve their lead. Manager Lee Martin praised Addy's impact and competition within the squad, while goals from TJ Jamaa, Lucan and Mitchell May sealed a convincing win. Ramsgate now face a busy run of fixtures, starting with Potters Bar on Saturday. And on tonight's cricket news, fast bowler Mickey Cohen signs a 1-year contract extension despite only playing 3 first-class matches in his first 2 years with the county due to injuries. He joined in November 2023, but back injuries meant he only debuted in August. But now he has returned to full fitness and has said that he's very happy to commit to Kent for another season. Director of Cricket Simon Cook has added more, saying Mickey's character and determination through adversity has been exceptional. And he reports that Cohen has been training well and working closely with the club's medical team to ensure that he is ready to return to play the season in 2026. Next, in the world of golf, Broadstairs North Foreland Golf Club Golf Club's Jack Swift will represent England this week after being named in a six-man squad for the Costa Ballerina Octangular in Cadiz, Spain. Swift joins Elliot Baker, Ben Bolton, Louis Hayward, Max Hopkins and Tom Osborne as England look to defend the title they won last year. The tournament runs from Wednesday to Saturday, with England chasing an 8th overall victory. Swift's selection follows an outstanding 2025 season, including a Darwin Silver win and multiple international appearances. And finally, for Kent's rugby news, Medway suffered devastating loss after Hull Tring on the latter's home turf. Tring set the tone early, accumulating a strong lead, and it quickly turned scrappy with Medway repeatedly forced back. Tring extended their advantage, with Medway responding with determination, and Henry Kenny's conversation narrowed the gap to 3 points and swung faith back towards the visitors. However, Tring responded in the turn, stretching the figures to 24-7. Medway continued to fight and brought back the score to 24-14. Tring then dominated the second half, and the end score was 45-14. Medway's next league game is on Saturday, 31st. That's all from sport. Moving on. And now moving on to international news, Trump's unrelenting fight to acquire Greenland is shaking the world leaders and economy. We were joined by Dr. Rubric Began, a lecturer on international relations at the University of Kent, to give us an explanation on the situation. Can you first of all give us a summary of the situation in general?
Well, this seems to be a case where the personal obsessions of Donald Trump have overtaken American foreign policy, and you're in a situation now where the United States is making a quite deliberate play to try and essentially annex or take over the territory of Greenland. And this has caused all sorts of tensions and issues and controversies in the transatlantic relationship between the U.S. and its European allies. It's caused quite a lot of controversy politically at home for the Trump administration, including in Washington with lawmakers in Congress and so on.
Why does Trump want Greenland so badly?
I think there's two things to point out here. I think on the one hand, there's a strategic commitment on the part of the United States under the Trump administration to really dominate the Western Hemisphere and to really sort of deepen its hegemonic control over the Western Hemisphere. And this explains recent actions in Venezuela, for example. So on the one hand, this play for Greenland is consistent with a broader attempt by the United States to reassert its dominance in its kind of its own backyard, as it would have it. But the way it's gone about doing this is, very unusual and very kind of heavy-handed, and it seems very much related to Trump's own kind of personal proclivities, and he sort of his perceived slight at not getting the Nobel Peace Prize, for example, seems to have played a role in this as well. So on the one hand, it is, consistent with the administration's overall strategy, but there are some kind of peculiarities about how he's gone about doing this. Greenland is important for geostrategic reasons because of its location in between the United States and Russia. It's also important because it has quite a lot of rare earth minerals that would be important economically. So there's this kind of resource angle to the U.S.'s drive to, take over, annex Greenland, as it were. And there's also this kind of geographical or geostrategic rationale as well. It kind of think relates back to the U.S.'s drive to really reassert its supremacy in the Western Hemisphere.
And what does it really mean? I mean, obviously this would affect the UK and other countries, but what could it mean for Kent?
Well, I think it impacts the UK in two ways, and it impacts people in Kent really in two ways as it relates back to national policy. I mean, I think on the geostrategic side of things, there's some speculation that this could lead to the collapse of NATO. I think that's unlikely at the moment, but certainly this will lead to increased tensions in NATO. This could eventually lead to, it could be one event in a series of events that leads to the UK really rethinking its overall approach to foreign and security policy. And this could be a major political issue in the coming years if NATO were to collapse, or if there were to be even greater tensions within the NATO alliance, this creates all sorts of questions about Britain's role in the world. And this is something that voters in Kent will have to grapple with in the near future. On the economic front, it's entirely possible, again, if relatively unlikely at the moment, that this leads to a tariff war or a trade war between the US and its European allies, including the UK. If this were to happen, it might have a negative effect on economic growth in the UK over the near term. It might contribute to inflation. I think a lot of economists sort of would argue that a kind of tariff war or a trade war between the US and the UK, for example, might lead to an increase in prices. And I think these are the two ways in which this would most directly impact people in Kent.
And do you know at all how Kent MPs are responding to this?
I haven't, to be honest, paid much attention to that. I don't think there's much, that lawmakers can do in the UK. I mean, a lot of this is being driven by Trump's relatively erratic behavior in the United States, and it's really, a kind of wait and see approach on the UK side. And I think, to be honest, there isn't going to be a lot of difference among different parties in terms of how the UK responds to this. It's a kind of wait and see at the moment, I think.
All right, thank you so much. That's all we have for now, but we will, of course, be back after this short break, so see you then. Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight Live on KMTV. I'm Kristen Hawthorne and here are your top stories on Tuesday the 20th of January. Leysdown Beach murder trial. 3 teens remain in court charged with the murder of electrician, with new messages revealed. 6-figure sum. Mid-Kent College lecturer given payout after being forced out. And I thought my life was over. Meet the Sevenoaks councillor getting his voice back using AI.
And no one wants to sound like Stephen Hawking did. So it's incredible.
But first, our top story tonight. 3 teenagers stand charged of the murder after a man was killed on the beach in Leysdown in August last year. The court heard 49-year-old Alexander Cashford was lured to the beach by the teens under the pretense he'd been meeting a 16-year-old girl. It was there he was attacked with a glass bottle while being dubbed a paedophile, shown in a video footage shown to the court. Reporter Chloe Brewster is here to tell us more about what we learnt in court today. So for watchers who haven't been aren't up to speed on what happened here, can you explain it for us?
Yeah, so 3 teenagers are currently on trial at Woolwich Crown Court accused of murdering Alexander Cashford, an electrician. So a 16-year-old boy has pled guilty to manslaughter last week, but denies the charge of murder, while a 16-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy have both pled not guilty to murder and manslaughter. The trio of teens who can't be named due to their age allegedly lured Mr Cashford to the beach after having exchanged more than 70 messages. You can see in this footage that was shown to the court Mr Cashford being allegedly chased by the teens. He's said to have exchanged messages with the victim 70 messages between the victim and the teens. They were posing as a 16-year-old girl named Sienna. Once at the beach, expecting to meet the teen, Mr Cashford was allegedly attacked with a glass bottle, with one of the teens allegedly calling the victim a paedophile. Later on, eyewitnesses are said to have seen Mr Cashford lying in the mud while the 16-year-old boy threw rocks at his head and stomach. That is all alleged, and that is what the court has heard. Mr Cashford was later declared dead that evening, around an hour after he met up with Sienna.
And what came out at today's trial?
So today, messages between the group and the victim were read out. We know that those 70 messages were exchanged. One of the messages included Mr Cashford saying he was not put off by the 16-year-old girl's age and said that he thought she was lovely. The jury heard that the victim started to try to arrange a date and time to meet Sienna as he was working nights, to which she replied, "Are you asking me out?" This, you can see on screen now, is the area that the meeting took place between the teens and the victim. There were more texts exchanged. There was messages from Mr Cashford saying, "I can't believe you don't have a boyfriend," to the teenager. There are also more texts exchanged, including a message from Mr Cashford expressing a want for physical intimacy with Sienna. The court was also shown a compilation of CCTV from August 10th, which showed the 3 teenagers playing on a basketball machine around 20 minutes before meeting Mr Cashford. Now, this is not the end of this trial. There's 6 weeks in total, which this will go on for, so it will be something that we're going to be covering, I think, just to see how the case wraps up.
How it progresses, yeah. Thank you so much, Chloe, for bringing us those details. Next, a man in Ashford has been taken to hospital after a car crashed into a wall at Little Car Park. At about 10:30 today, emergency services were called to the reports of a single vehicle collision in New Street in Ashford. Officers attended alongside paramedics who treated the man before taking him to the William Harvey Hospital for further treatment. 2 spaces in the Little Car Park have been closed off, while debris is currently being cleared and recovery has since been arranged for the vehicle. GP practices across Kent were hit with an IT outage yesterday, with medical teams unable to access patient details, appointments or telephone systems. While backup methods are being put in place, patients should expect disruption as some practices are currently unable to be connected through their phone lines. An NHS and Medway spokesperson has said that GP practices are open as normal and that the matter is being urgently investigated. Patients who can't contact their GP and are currently experiencing emergency health problems should use NHS 111 or attend an emergency treatment centre or A&E. And new bosses of the Folkestone Sports Centre have asked for the council for a £2.4 million capital grant towards a revamp. The Sports Trust took over the site last year and is hoping to raise money needed to reopen the swimming pool in time for the summer. The facility was forced to close in July 2024 after the previous charity running it couldn't afford to continue. There's hope that the funds would soon be used to refurbish the swimming pool, changing rooms and reception area, and also contribute towards the installation of solar panels. And as well as that, an inquest has been opened into the tragic death of a 13-year-old girl in a house fire near Ashford. Lily Ann Childs was upstairs at her home in Ham Street on the 28th of December when the fire broke out, where she then became trapped. It was reported that neighbours first attempted to rescue the child, but the fires were too aggressive. A coroner told the inquest firefighters tried to get upstairs, but the stairs collapsed and they could not get access. The coroner later gave Lily's medical cause of death as inhalation of fire fumes, pending further investigation. The inquest is set to continue on the 30th of March. But coming back to our story on Greenland, Trump's unpredictability and raising tariffs against anyone who opposes his Greenland plan is making it impossible for businesses to know what to expect next. We were joined earlier by Tudor Price, CEO of Kent Invicta Chamber of Commerce, to discuss the potential rising of tariffs in the UK and what it could mean for the economy in Kent. Thanks so much for joining me, Tudor. Can you first of all give me a rundown of the situation and how it could potentially affect Kent?
So, as everyone's probably been made aware of, obviously, the president has decided that he's looking to implement a further 10% increase in tariffs for products exported and imported into the US. Now, what that actually means is, in the first instance, will it happen? So we've got uncertainty. We've seen him do this before. We've seen him roll back at the last minute. So really, until the 31st of January, none of us really know if this is going to come into play. We are then hoping that the government will play a part in perhaps trying to soften the blow for some exporters. But really where Kent will suffer is in the supply chain, because it's the large organisations like Jaguar Land Rover and other large industrial companies who will have the immediate sort of freeze on sales potentially, or the loss of revenue on sales. And it's how that then plays down the supply chain to smaller businesses that are operating in that space. Here in Kent in particular, we have a number of businesses supply direct to the US, and they've already negotiated prices, but now they're not quite sure whether or not it's actually going to be enough. So, yeah, it's the uncertainty that is really causing the biggest challenge.
And what sectors are particularly at risk in Kent? Is it those larger businesses like Land Rover that you mentioned?
Yeah, so the large organisations will have the sort of the headlines, if you like, because obviously, you know, they don't lose a few £1,000s a day, they lose millions. And so the government will be very keen to try and support those large organisations in particular to try and cut down any potential job losses. But as we saw with some of the challenges last time this happened, it's actually the smaller businesses that are then struggling. So what we're hoping is the government will play a part here in not just supporting the large organisations, but also the smaller ones that play a part of that vital supply chain into large institutions. We are lucky that a lot of the businesses we have here in Kent are actually professional services, and that's exempt from these sort of tariffs. But we do have a number of manufacturers that supply direct, a roulette wheel manufacturer, for example.
And how resilient is Kent's economy to the situation? You touched on it there, but give me a bit, yeah.
It's very hard to try and protect yourself from these sort of turbulent times, really. This is the chaos that the US president is sort of causing in global markets. It's not just the investment side of things, but on a day-to-day basis, businesses don't know how much something's going to cost, either as an importer or as an exporter, whether they're going to get the money back on the things they've done. So it's really hard to try and protect yourself against this sort of thing. The best bet right now is for businesses is to certainly talk to those organisations that are in the know, like the Chamber. We're keeping track of when these tariffs are going to come in, and if they do, what sort of government help is going to be available. But really, they need to sort of be looking at other markets. I think it's recognising that whilst the US has been a great partner and ally for decades, that maybe isn't the case anymore.
And for the everyday resident in Kent, should they be worried? Will their shopping get more expensive? Will online orders be more difficult to come by? What sort of difficulties might residents in Kent face?
So, from a consumer perspective, yes, we're bound to see some increases in costs. Those tariff prices have to be sort of addressed. But what we will probably see in the short term isn't too much of a direct impact to sort of the general public and society. But what we will see is a shift away from the US market, possibly companies choosing not to sell products into the US, but going elsewhere, exporting products. It'll get more expensive to put things across the water. So it's really the uncertainty is the big issue, and the long-term investment plans and what that does to our economy as a whole.
Okay, thank you so much. Very interesting, Tudor. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Time for a short break now, but coming up we'll be taking a look at a Nando's employee from South Aylesford who won a creative burger competition, and we'll be looking at the accomplishments of the women's team at Chatham Town FC as they continue to advance in the FA Cup competition, reaching new heights for the club. We'll also be speaking to an artist, so don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight Live here on KMTV. Now, a local Nando's employee has won a creative burger competition by beating nearly 100 colleagues from across the country. Ilona Dapke-Vikute from Aylesford branch wowed the judges with their tasty idea. The Nando Chat Burger features grilled chicken, melted cheese, rainbow coleslaw, pickles, churrasco peri and mango and lime peri chutney. Very interesting. Ilona's special chutney is made with fresh mango and chilies that her mum grew using the seeds of Nando's very own African bird's eye chili. The burger launched today and is available for a limited time. Next, another member of Kent is set to join the ranks of 20 people in this year's The Apprentice. Rajan Gill runs Easy Mount with a business specialising in TV mounts and building media walls. The 30-year-old hopes the experience will allow him to gain investment for fitting units in brand new homes. The pharmaceuticals specialist has already spent time on consultation sites, so he says he's used to the practical and brainstorming aspects of business. Jonathan Heaver from Deal joined last year before being fired in week 6, and we actually spoke to him last year. The Apprentice 2026 premieres on January 29th on BBC One. And after Chatham Town beat York City 3-0 in the Women's FA Cup, they've advanced to the last 16, the furthest that the club side has got in any FA Cup competition. In the televised draw last night, they were matched against Birmingham City, WSL2 side on good form in the league, and their players, manager and fans were at the Bovill Stadium to hear the draw. Finn McDermott has that report.
The Women's FA Cup has been around for 56 years, and during the last 20 of them, very select teams have dominated. Manchester City have won it 3 times, Chelsea 6, and Arsenal have a record 14 cups. And it's not just the WSL clubs. Chatham Town Women's are also breaking records. It's the first time the club has ever gotten to the round of 16. And their manager, Keith Bonus, is a previous winner of the cup with Charlton Athletic. So to find out who their opponents would be in the next round, the players, manager, fans and youth teams gathered around, and there were a few favourites. What team do you want to go up against?
Arsenal!
They had brought down higher league opposition like Sutton United and York City to get to this stage, so the pressure was on. And when the result came through, opinions were split.
Number 5.
They were hoping for a match right here at the Bovill, but instead they'll be travelling to Birmingham. Many of the fans said they wanted Arsenal, they wanted Chelsea, maybe even a sneaky bit of Spurs, but it was not to be, and they'll be hoping to see if they can punch their ticket to the quarterfinals against the Blues. But what did the players and the manager make of their last 16 fixture?
Yeah, like I say, people I've been speaking to, they're like, who do you want? And I was like, oh, I'd love Arsenal or something like that. But again, Birmingham's a big team. Like, we'll definitely go there and try and give it a go. So yeah, we're happy with the draw.
There was a few other choices we'd have preferred, and we definitely would have preferred a home game for sure. But it's a top tier side, and we knew we were going to get that in this round. And I'm aware of who's in the background of Birmingham. I know Hope Powell quite well. My wife played under her for England, and I know the manager. So yeah, we'll look forward to it, we'll work towards it, and we'll go out there and do our best.
It feels good. I mean, I think mixed emotions when it first got read out. We wanted a big club, but I wanted Arsenal. We were so close to getting that ball drawn as well. But no, mixed feelings. I'm really sort of pumped to get Birmingham as well. I think I've got close friends who plays there that I grew up with, so it'd be good to see her again. So yeah, I mean, would have been nice to get a home draw as well. We obviously keep saying that after the attendance yesterday was incredible. We just want to build on that. So, but away it is. I'm sure our supporters will follow us.
Yeah, I think the word that comes to mind first is just proud. Like, I'm just so proud of all the girls and all the staff. We've just done so well to get here. We've grafted a lot. So yeah, just so proud of everyone.
No matter what, this cup run will go down in Kent's footballing legend as the giant-killing Chats march to their next battlefield, the St Andrews Stadium in Birmingham. Finn McDermott for KMTV at the Bovill Stadium.
3, 1, 2, 3.
And now it's time to take a quick look at the weather. Tonight will feel relatively mild across Kent, with temperatures reaching around 9 degrees for most areas. Tunbridge will be slightly warmer at 12 degrees. However, conditions will be unsettled, with heavy rain affecting most of the county. Indeed, tomorrow afternoon then, 9 degrees across most of the board, although 10 degrees into the east there in Canterbury and Dover. The outlook then, 10 degrees on Thursday, slight rain. Friday is cloudy, 9 degrees, and Saturday 8 degrees, cloudy as well. And now don't forget, you can keep up to date with all our latest stories across Kent by logging onto our website kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about baby goats being rescued in Maidstone after they were abandoned in a bin.
Baby goats in the bin. That's what Buttercup's sanctuary for goats near Maidstone had the misfortune of discovering after they were alerted on Monday afternoon after a member of the public found them. Viola and Biffa were able to survive the ordeal thanks to the help of vets and a local sheep farm. The farmer was able to give them colostrum, milk that provides vital antibodies.
It's this specifically is obviously I've never heard of anything quite like this. Abuse and neglect cases do come round. They are, I would say, slightly less common than once upon a time, maybe, but still far too common for anyone's liking. I mean, one case is far too many, and it's one of those things like just when being in this sort of job, you see a lot of odd things, and just when you think you've seen it all, something like this will come along and make you realise that, you know, you haven't.
Biffa is currently experiencing lung problems, and Viola is still trying to support her own weight, but the sanctuary says they're showing strong character. The public can support goats like Viola and Biffa by donating to the sanctuary's website. Henry Luck for KMTV in Maidstone.
And finally, when you think about Margate, you might think of the sun and the sea, but how about the Splat and Splash tour? Well, artist Graham Coulis, who is on a mission to change that, with his tour of the UK, showcasing his art, stopping at Margate this week before moving on to Dover. Graham's travelling project planned and delivered all out in a camper van, and is in aid of mental health awareness and seeks to create artwork inspired by the locations that he visits. He joins me in the studio now. So, I mean, to start us off, just tell me a bit about this tour that you're on.
First off, you almost got it right. It's Cullis.
Oh, see, I needed to do it confidently. That's the thing.
No worries, all good. Yeah, so basically, I'm travelling around the country, creating a piece of art with each town that I go to. So I hold like a holistic event where I get people to come along, I lead them in a meditation, we do a silent disco, and then we splat a blank canvas, so one for each town. So this is what the Southend one looked like from the last event. And then I paint something over the top. So here's like the jellyfish from Croyd, that's the Western Supermare Swan. And then, yeah, so each town gets their own individual piece. But the main thing is that the community that have come along, that I've appealed across my social medias for people that might be struggling with mental health or loneliness, to come along and find love and connection through creativity, art, dance and singing, and lots of hugs. It's really nice. So yeah, basically like there'll be 32 pieces are created around the country for all the towns that I visit.
And this is quite a project to do, really, especially on your own. What inspired you to do this?
So I have a CIC called Your Art Connect, and we run into some problems last year with the directors burning out, not having any funding. So I was like, do you know what? Right, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go around the country. Basically, as like a bit of a PR stunt, I gather emails in each town that I go to from the people that come to the events. So then we can use that as a data for our charity to be able to have for outreach. But also I can then also raise money for each piece. So I'm selling them for £1,000 each. Actually, these two have already sold. And yeah, that'll raise about 32 grand in total after the tour, after when we do the exhibitions. But more importantly, like I'm gonna raise a profile for the charity, for the CIC, sorry, and also myself as an artist. It will put my name to the next level in the art world.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose people that want to come along and see you, where can they meet you, and can they bring their own canvases to paint with you?
Well, of course, yeah. Sometimes people have done that. Actually, they bought their own art supplies. But yeah, like literally, you don't have to come with anything. It doesn't cost anything. You can find me on my social medias at Graham Cullis anywhere. I normally will enter Facebook groups and then spam across like my WhatsApp number for people to get in touch. But I utilise Facebook groups to do the digital marketing. So each town I'll make a flyer. So you've got this one behind us, which is the Margate event, which I basically I don't have much time to put the event together. I get into the town on a Sunday, have no idea what I'm doing, and I just use my intuition to find where I'm going to be running it. So opposite the Margate amusements on Saturday, the 12th, 24th of Jan. On the beach, literally just opposite. If you cross the road, I'll be there with my gazebo, waiting for you with 120 silent disco headsets, and yeah, I'll run a meditation. We'll do the dance, we'll do the splat, and yeah, I also endeavour to help local mental health charities in each town as well. So I've got Mental Health Matters charity, which